people, we do, if you want to go onto YouTube, you're more than welcome to do so. We're doing something slightly different this week. We've got an activity for you to do, as well as a little word and also the gospel. And if you're young at heart, do have a look at it afterwards. You'll find it on our resources page of the, and I think Jen or Claire has actually put it up into the chat room already. Do have a look at that. It's in the website on resources. It's quite a good one this week, I have to say. It took quite a while to get it ready, and only those who are there will understand. Well, in these next 2 weeks, what we're trying to do is, as you know, we have done in the past at St Stephen's, we've tried to get to know a little bit more of our congregation. And so what we're trying to do is we're going to interview various people, and the first tonight we've got Elizabeth, which we're looking forward to. Elizabeth's going to talk about with our curate Helena about her latest publication. And today, if you can see it, and I hope she's in the house, all I can see is the last person, but I'm sure it's actually working. Today we're going to have as our speaker Alison Neilson, who is well, let's just see. Alison, are you there?
I am here, yes.
Oh, marvellous. We've got you on a huge TV here. You look larger than life. And Alison, for those of you who don't know, it is our bursar. Now, Alison, would you like to tell us, how did you become the bursar of St Stephen's, Rochester Road?
Right. Well, I trained as a chartered accountant, and for many years I worked at KPMG as a tax consultant. But when our children came along, I stopped, and I did a number of voluntary things, including being church treasurer for our local Anglican church, St Mary's in Wimbledon. And that gave me a lot of experience. So when the children were a bit older, I thought, well, I'd actually like to go back and do some part-time work. And when I saw the opportunity in the Church Times of working as bursar at St Stephen's, I thought that would just suit me down to the ground. And there's also a rather nice connection with St Stephen's, in that John, my husband's parents, were actually married at St Stephen's in about 1958. So that's a wonderful connection as well.
Oh my goodness, who was that? Sorry, who was the vicar then? That would have been Tremlett, would it?
No, it would be George Reindorp.
Character. Well, there we are. I bet that was a wedding and a half.
Yes.
Alison, as a bursar, I mean, what on earth do you do? I mean, it's a strange thing. It's strange for a parish to have a bursar. What do you do?
Well, the main thing that I do is to look after the church finances. So I advise the treasurer on the financial position and the important decisions that need to be taken. And I'm working closely with Jessie, our parish administrator, and we basically manage the properties and the finance between us. And what I try to do is to make sure that we make best use of our income and manage the expenditure carefully. And I also do things like look after the leases of our properties. So recently we've had to renew the leases for the nursery and the Napier Hall. And so a lot of my work involves coordinating those leases. And the other thing that I do is act as a bit of a sounding board for the vicar, really, and try to sort of keep him on the straight and narrow, shall we say.
Yeah, that's very, very difficult task, indeed. Actually, we're indebted to you for sorting out some of those leases. I mean, we can't thank you enough. And for those of you who don't know, our nursery left, and Alison negotiated a new nursery, and it means that we, basically survived as a church. I think we would have found it very, very, very difficult to continue, and we're really, really grateful for all the incredible work that you did in that area. Linking to what you just said then, apart from working with me, what are the main challenges of the job?
Well, I think the increasing amount of regulations that the government have brought in, which does take quite a lot of time making sure that we're complying with those. I suppose the looking after the property and the leases is quite a challenge. Although I have to say that one of my earliest jobs when I graduated was to work at the land registry, and that experience has really been very useful to me in dealing with these leases, because I'm not fazed by legal documents. Yeah.
That's absolutely true, Alison. I never forget, we had a problem where there was a tiny strip of land, and you managed to find it. You said, Graham, but this has not been registered. And it was actually causing a bit of a problem. And thank goodness that you saw it. It was over my head, but we were really grateful that you were able to spot that and see that. And some of those things we're still dealing with now, aren't we?
Yes. Yeah.
Well, one question I would, what would you like to, Alison? Because it's really interesting. And you mentioned about being a sounding board, and you're certainly one of the. It's really, really good to have somebody who's got that kind of an idea on the financial situation within the church. I could run away with myself, really, as many would know. And it's good to have somebody to keep me in check, but also to talk and bounce out ideas of. But what would you like to communicate to the parish and us as a church and church members?
I think to celebrate what the church has and the strength of the mission which you're able to carry out at St. Stephen's. In the readings today, it was all about the resources that God has given us, and we should celebrate that both as a church and individually. And St. Stephen's is a beautiful church in a very special part of London, and there's a huge opportunity there for the church to serve the wider community. And my job is really to support that mission, and whatever the PCC and the congregation decides is what they want to do.
Well, we think you do that admirably, and we're really grateful. Well, one of the things I was interested in, I hope I'm not flummoxing you here too much. What question would you like perhaps to ask me, or to ask us? Or what was the question do you think that we should have been asking?
Well, one of the things that I first thought of was, well, why have I stayed so long? And I think it's because I've enjoyed working at St. Stephen's and the huge variety of issues that I've had to deal with. And some of the highlights and the achievements of the church that I've seen through. I'm thinking here of getting the new organ in place and the refurbishment of the bells, both of which were sort of big achievements and a great cause to celebrate. But also the more community and social aspects of the work. It's been lovely to see the Second Half Club come into fruition, and also the Sri Lankan refugees and the work that's being done with them, and the opportunity for them to come and use the church. Sadly, not at the moment, but there were several years when we were able to host them, and that was wonderful to see.
It's really interesting, Alison, but I mean, you're probably not aware of this, but you're kind of stuck in that office and doing your work, you know, with your head down in front of the computer with my dog's eating your lunch. And but when you come away from there to see, you're not aware of this, but when you come into the church, there might be an activity on in the church, seeing you just smile, and it's almost as if you're making that connection. I'm sure that's true with what you're doing over in the office, to actually the pastoral encounters which happen over here. What would you say are your gifts, and what other gifts do you bring, Alison?
I think probably that I'm calm and patient, and I like to see things through, complex things through to conclusion and get them finished. And also I would say that the experience that I have had, both my accounting experience and working with the church, has been is really useful and is a gift.
I think that's absolutely true, and I think it kind of complements my gung-ho attitude, and it's really good. I mean, certainly as a team, I think a team must always have different kind of personalities for it to work, and it just shows what a successful team it is. What other jobs do you? Because you don't just do that. I mean, there are other aspects to it, aren't there? I mean, just briefly say to the congregation, tell the congregation what other aspects you bring and do in that job. I mean, your trustees and things.
Yes. Well, St. Stephen's not only has the legal body, which is the PCC, which I look after all the accounts of that, but there's also the Napier Hall Trust is a separate charity, and there are a number of other smaller charities which I manage. For example, there's the St Andrew's Church Hall Trust, which has about £1 million worth of investments, and the income from that is shared equally between us and St Peter's Eaton Square, and that's worth a lot of money, and I manage that trust. There's another trust called the Pepys Twining Trust, which provides money which we use to maintain the Napier Hall, and so I manage all of those. I'm also clerk to the trustees of the Burdett Coote School, which is a trust which is separate from the governor's, which again has a pool of investments which the income from which is used to support the school in ways that are not funded by the normal education budget. So we provide extras for the school. Apart from those, I do some things at home, but
well, of course, you're a mother, and you were church wardens for a while, weren't you, too?
I was, yes. I was a church warden for St Mary's in Wimbledon, and I have to say that my experience at St Stephen's, because that came first, was that was really useful for teaching me the issues that were relevant for being a church warden.
Because you've got a really lively faith. One of the questions I was meant to ask earlier, I mean, your faith is really important. Does that play a part in the role? I mean, is that an important? Does that play a key part?
I think, in a sense, you don't have to be a Christian to do the job, but it helps. And I suppose an important part of my faith is to live it out through my work and actions, and therefore working for St Stephen's and supporting all that you do is important to me. And so I think that, you know, I wouldn't, it's a big incentive.
Well, we're really grateful that you are part of our team, Alison. And I'm certainly personally, as a vicar, really grateful for all that you do and all your support. It is second to none. And I think it's really good that we've had this opportunity just to hear about a little, and it's only a little, of the enormous amount of work and dedication that you give to us as a parish. I would never ever have thought of having a bursar. I was talking to you earlier. I would never, I think if I was, not that I am likely to, get another parish, I would even think about and contemplate actually having a bursar as a role. I think it's a really, really useful task. Just to end, Alice, what do you think post-COVID St Stephen's or the church might perhaps look like? What would you like to leave us with?
Well, I think that we're very fortunate that that we have the resources of the property and the other income which supports the church, but we do need the support of the congregation both financially and practically to keep the breadth of the mission going. And I do feel that there will be concerns about how many people will return to church once the COVID restrictions are lifted. And it's going to take time to build up our income and our activity levels, once that happens. And we do need to be very welcoming and bring new people into the church to support this work.
Thank you so much, Alison. Thank you for your time. And I know it's a big deal because you have your own worshipping community, but we're really grateful that you are part of our worshipping community and taking time out of your Sabbath, your day off, your time with the Lord, with your own community, church Christian community in Wimbledon. We are grateful, and we're grateful for all that you do and your work and being with us, as we are with all our staff. Please, friends, continue to pray for all our staff, the people that we employ, the people that do that, not just we employ financially, but also the people that we are volunteers for this church. And remember what Alison said about our contributions. It is vital that we continue to do that in this time, so that in order that we can continue, because we're in very, very volatile times. Alison, thank you, and thank you for all those who work so hard. Let us pray. Creator God, we give you thanks and praise for all those who work for and with our church community of St Stephen's. We ask that you may bless Alison and her work, her family and her church. Be with her and with us in all that we do as we create your kingdom. This we ask for your great love's sake, even Jesus Christ, our Lord. Amen.